This is a vaccination center in Manila. And these are others just a few kilometers away. On May 17, hundreds of Filipinos flocked to a vaccine site in a mall in Parañaque City. But on other sites across Metro Manila, very thin crowds. What makes these vaccination centers different from others? These sites had Pfizer and BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine. Some observers describe this trend as vaccine preference, and it's leaving some health experts and government officials concerned. Can this be a factor that is driving vaccine hesitancy among Filipinos? A recent survey from the social weather stations shows that only 3 out of 10 Filipinos are willing to get vaccinated. The survey says not all vaccines are the same to Filipinos. It finds that Filipinos prefer Sinovac and Pfizer over other brands. Other surveys from Pulse Asia and Octa Research Group also show an alarming trend in vaccine hesitancy in the Philippines. The number of Filipinos willing to get vaccinated is decreasing, while the number of those unwilling to get vaccinated is climbing. The top reason for vaccine hesitancy? Fear of side effects. But there may be another factor at play here. 4 years ago, the Dengvaxia controversy lowered vaccine confidence among the public and affected the government's immunization campaigns. Years later, the fear of vaccines still lingers well into this pandemic. But does it matter which vaccine brand you get? And should you wait to get the shot you want? Most doctors will tell you, the best vaccine is the one in your arm. But what does that really mean? You might have heard about efficacy rates. These are figures that tell you how well a vaccine worked against preventing symptomatic COVID-19 in a controlled trial.
Hindi pa yan nakataga sa bato kasi tumatakbo pa yung mga clinical trials. Pwedeng magbago yung mga numbers depende sa observations natin doon sa mga nangyayari doon sa nabigyan ng bakuna at hindi nabigyan ng bakuna.
The thing about efficacy rates is that they're difficult to compare across different vaccine brands, which go through different clinical trials under different environments.
Hindi kasi pare-pareho yung grupo ng mga taong isinali dun sa mga trials. Iba-iba din kung saan silang ginawa at iba-ibang panahon kung kailan ginanap yung mga trials na yan. So kumbaga hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na patas yung pagkumpara nila kasi iba-iba yung mga circumstances over which ginawa yung mga studies and the numbers may not be comparable.
For perspective, COVID-19 vaccines work well compared to other kinds of vaccines developed for other diseases. When it comes to vaccines, experts say what's really important is that a vaccine can protect you against ending up in the hospital or dying because of a disease.
Apektado yung buong mundo dahil sa sakit na ito. And priority din ng immunization programs, yung mabawasan yung nagkakasakit ng malubha at saka yung namamatay galing sa sakit.
Here's what we do know about the vaccines that are available in the country. All are safe and effective against symptomatic COVID-19, and all are nearly 100% effective against hospitalizations and deaths due to COVID-19. Yes, even the Sinovac and Sputnik V vaccines, which the public had initially been skeptical about. Earlier data showed the efficacy versus symptomatic COVID-19 for China's Sinovac was at 50.4% in Brazil trials where health workers were involved. Now, a real-world study among Indonesian health workers released in May shows that Sinovac is 94% effective in preventing symptoms and 96% effective against hospitalization. In June, more than 350 Indonesian doctors still got COVID-19 despite being vaccinated with Sinovac. But the Philippine Health Department says the vaccine continues to offer protection against severe disease and death.
Let's get the vaccine. Let us not be Doubtful, let's give that confidence. Wala pa rin po tayong kaso o di kaya ay adverse events na na-identify which has direct causality with the vaccine.
The WHO has also approved the vaccine for emergency use listing, with results showing that the shot prevented symptomatic disease in 51% of those vaccinated and prevented severe COVID-19 and hospitalization 100%. For Russia's Sputnik V, a real-world study among 3.8 million Russians released in April found the vaccine is 97.6% effective against COVID-19. In the Philippines, other vaccines that have been approved for use include the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine, Pfizer and BioNTech, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Bharat Biotech, and Sinopharm. To address overcrowding, on May 19, the Health Department urged local governments to refrain from announcing vaccine brands to the public in advance. The move sparked backlash online. Critics said it's a violation of the patient's right to know. As a compromise, the Department of Health promised people will be informed on what vaccine will be administered once on site. Critics counter, it's not enough.
People can be assured na pagka may EUA ang isang bakuna, siguradong-sigurado tayo na ito ay ligtas at makakapaghatid ng mabisang proteksyon.
To understand why people get side effects after vaccination, we need to understand how vaccines work and what they're supposed to do.
Ang bakuna, ang laman kasi niyan either pinahina na mikrobyo or parte na lamang ng mikrobyo or pwedeng yung buong mikrobyo na pinatay na. So, kung itinurok na yan sa ating katawan, nagkakaroon ng pagkakataon, no, yung depensa natin, na gumawa ng mga sundalo, ang tawag dyan antibodies, na kikilalanin yung itinurok para gumawa nga ng depensa so that kung dumating yung panahon na na-expose na tayo dun sa buhay at medyo matinding mikrobyo o yung virus, ready na yung katawan natin kasi may panlaban na siya. So, dahil yung mikrobyo ay either patay na o kapraso na lang or mahina na siya, hindi nangyayari na dahil tinurukan ka, magkakaroon ka ng sakit.
And those side effects? Those are indicators that vaccines are actually working. As time goes by, it becomes even more important that everyone who can get vaccinated gets vaccinated when it's our turn. The emergence of different variants of COVID-19 makes vaccination against the disease even more urgent.
Yung theoretical risk, no, na pwedeng may mangyari after mabakunahan tayo, talong-talo yan dun sa real risk na magkasakit tayo ng malubha at maaring mamatay kung tayo mahawa sa COVID.
So far, the Philippines reports over 1.3 million COVID-19 cases and over 23,000 people died battling the disease. But in countries where most of the population are immunized, hospitalizations and death rates are already going down. This shows that COVID-19 can be beaten.
Sulit na sulit yung proteksyon na matatanggap natin, hindi lang para sa ating sarili o para sa ating pamilya, para na rin sa buong community na ginagalawan natin.